Today I would like to read for you Chapter 3 of the Quest for Holiness. Man's justification before God through the word of forgiveness. Every magnitude, whether spiritual or heroic, is worn down to one level by the ceaselessly flowing stream of time, and its importance becomes only relative. Great leaders who have sprung from the productive soil of their own race and culture may be able to interpret and disclose the soul of their homeland in living speech, but to other races and times their achievement seems alien and are readily misunderstood. If we are ready to follow Otto Spengler in this particular, even the greatest creations of the Western spirit will in time become unintelligible. They will be regarded with wonder by subsequent generations as the expression of an incomprehensible, utterly different spiritual outlook. When under the terrifying influence of this, and here's a Greek word I don't know how to pronounce, we come upon the person of Jesus, we are involuntarily compelled to pause. Time that elsewhere devours at the rust, consumes the iron, has no effect on him. It seems that he is raised above the stream of time, ever new, ever manifesting the same power in life. He draws the thoughts of men to himself with the mysterious mighty power. No one is able to ignore him. Even those who relentlessly persecuted him are proof that he was the cause for the hidden restlessness in their hearts. But far greater than the antagonism he aroused was the reverence and admiration he received as men tried to include him in their own systems of power and wisdom. It is true that this gain was dearly paid for, because in these adaptations of him to their own standards, men distorted and dishonored the image of Christ. Anyone who is familiar with the historical research on the life of Jesus, or anyone who has examined the almost illimitable number of old and new pictures of Jesus, whether in art or literature, must be overwhelmed with pain and displeasure when he sees how greatly the New Testament account has continually been changed and disregarded by the intrusion of the author's or painter's own personality. We will leave out of consideration the contrast and crudest views that we have been fully refuted by calm objective science, the popular glorification of his Aryan racial purity, the accusation of epileptic hysteria and pathological conditions, which fit in so badly with Jesus' physical and mental soundness. But besides these, there are widely recognized and accepted attempts to interrupt him and glorify him as the outstanding leader of his own movement of religious uplift. In the classification of the three inner dynamic ways of salvation, he is regarded, because of his religious genius, as the hero and the classic example of religion, who towers above all the other homines religiosi, like the highest peak of a mountain chain. The man who refuses to give up his virtuosity in the spheres of moralism, mysticism, and esoteric Gnosticism has turned Jesus into an image like unto himself. As the rigorous exalted teacher, in Socratic sense, in the role of the novus legislator, he gives the individual a catechism of ethical precepts by whose fulfillment we can attain to the sphere of divinity. In this sense, the Enlightenment, English moral philosophy, deism, Freemasonry, Tolstoy's principles for the reformation of life, even Islamism, have always recognized him as having sung his praise. In connection with the conditions existing among the masses, Kalthoff and Kautsky, under the influence of D.F. Strauss and Renan, have carried on propaganda for the morality of Jesus as a revolutionary social program and as a movement for the proletarian redemption of the world. Above all, the mystical natures, artists, and aesthetics have tried to claim Jesus for themselves. The poets have admired the plastic power of his speech, the artistic construction of the parables. Others have glorified him as a gifted master of the art of life, as a possessor of occult spiritual powers, as the first scientist who has demonstrated the power of spirit over matter. World-weary dualists stated with the earth and what it has to offer laud him, a supposed member of the Essenian party, as their confederate. To mediating suppliants, he appears as a man distinguished by absolute power of his religious consciousness. Spiritualistic sectarians appeal to him as the prototype of fanatical enthusiasm. Closely connected with this is the conception of Jesus as the herald of speculative wisdom. Like the dying and reviving gods of Babylon, Phoenicia, Phrygia, and Egypt, Tammuz, Marduk, Adonis, Attis, Osiris, his life illustrates the ancient Mandaic Iranian nature myths of the conflict between light and darkness, between matter and spirit, the Asiatic mystery and redemption teaching which was united in Paul with Hellenistic thought in an exalted synchronism. Men are still repeating the procedure of Alexander Severus. They place the image of Christ alongside that of Apollonius of Tyana, besides Socrates, the divine seer Orpheus, and the whole multitude of ancient demigods. In the historic development of the Church, the spiritistic Kyrios and the sacramental mysteries find a place in Eastern theology, which in its dogma and cultus teaches and adores the, another Greek phrase I can't pronounce, who permeates moral nature with divine power. The attempt has even been made to prove the unique greatness of Jesus through the assumed manifoldness of his revelation. The unbounded facility for absorption and adaptation is supposed to prove the universality and the complete and exalted value of Christianity. But such talk is only the betrayal of Jesus with a kiss. Whoever has nothing more than that to say must finally surrender his absoluteness, because when it comes to the attributes that have been mentioned, other religions of the less degraded sort can rival them. The ethics of an Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, of Julian and Apostate, and particularly the rabbinical ethics of later Judaism, as it is found in the Talmud, have high standards that are quite worthy of being ideals for the most earnest striving after moral perfection. The heart of the mystic beats as fervently in India and Persia as it did in the charming saints of the Middle Ages. Zoroaster and Laots offer the Gnostic seeking after wisdom more completely developed cosmogonies than those of the evangelists. So it is quite in line with the various views we have been discussing when the explanation is given that though Jesus may be a particularly bright medium for transmitting the light of divine logos, though he may be particularly adapted to be a purifying guide of souls, the contact with God and the communion with God is by no means restricted to him on that account. The divine light is indeed manifested at all times and in all places, and only the various degrees of sanctity make it permissible to establish various grades in the history of religions, and has been attempted time and again from their various viewpoints by Herder, Hegel, Max Muller, Seibach, von Clifterer, Schultzisch, Rudolf Otto, and Heiler. Sorry for the pronunciation.